we'll save the game for when Austin shows up. But anyways, we are live. What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 43. I think I'm looking it up as we speak. The last few weeks I've had it good.
You've been doing real well.
Episode 43, of the Hot Stove Podcast. I'm your host, Zach, and I'm joined by Mark. We're trying to figure out what the hell we're doing with the show moving forward because Josh has now started a new term at grad school and has classes at 7:30 on Tuesdays. So, which is normally when we record the podcast.
What a scumbag.
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to look at maybe recording these on Monday. If that's the case, I'll be sure to tweet something out over at Hot Stove Pod on Twitter. So make sure to follow us at Hot Stove Pod on Twitter for more updates on the show. But if that does end up happening, we'll be recording Monday and releasing Tuesday. So it'll just be pushed up a day, basically. But anyways, that doesn't really matter. Austin should be joining us at some point. He's running a little late. But we did have to get this episode started because I'm going to see a movie and I have to leave in like an hour to do that. So we trudge on regardless. But a couple housekeeping notes. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. What else? Hit the notification bell.
Comment.
I already said like the video, but leave a comment as well if you feel like commenting. And like I said, when Austin shows up, we're going to be doing a game. We don't have any trivia tonight, surprisingly. So
can't wait to play this wonderful game that I always do so well at.
Look, I'm telling you, here's the problem. Last time we did a game, it was player opposer, and it was way too easy. Somehow it was way too easy. I thought I made it hard, but you guys snuffed it out.
I don't know. There was just something about I may not be able to name like where a bunch of guys went to college or anything like that. I watch enough sports where I can, like, if I hear a name that I've heard before, it's just like, yes, that's a name I have heard at least once in the past.
Right, but like all the players that I did that were like posers were athletes, just in different sports.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We were just looking for basketball players.
Yeah, that's right.
And
I have no idea how we did so well, but we did do really well.
I threw in NFL players. I threw in like a professional rugby player.
Yeah, I remember one of the NFL guys. I was like, that guy plays for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it was something. Anyways. Update on FanDuel before we get started here. Josh took his first last place finish of the year.
It's about
102 points. I finished in third for the fourth time this season.
You're consistent.
I'm the new Mark.
Yeah, you're the new Mark.
I'm going to finish in third every single week this year. Mark finished in second this week, and Austin got his first win of the season with 150 points. Now that makes that in 5 weeks, each of us have won the contest at least once.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh is the only one with multiple wins. Speaking of which, I got to send that to the chat and have Josh send over his lineup so we can talk about it during the show. But we will go over our lineups later. I'll tell you, I don't know if you've had the problem this week, but the slate was difficult for week 6.
I hated it.
I had a really hard time.
That reminds me, I got to
lineup this week.
I got to change my lineup. One of my players got the big Roni.
I spent the last half an hour before I started the Skype call doing a complete overhaul of my FanDuel lineup. And then I ended up just keeping it almost exactly to where it was beforehand. I went through all these changes, and then at the very end, I settled on a lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Josh just responded, the what? Because I said I need the like instead of the lineup. Because I was talking and typing at the same time.
I need the like.
Need you. Anyways,
this is great podcasting.
Yes, sorry, I have a problem with multitasking. So I had the problem, like I said, I went in like a half an hour ago, changed the whole lineup, Like I changed my quarterback, my game stacks, and blah blah blah. And then I was like, no, I don't feel great about this, so I changed it again. The final lineup I landed on is almost identical to the lineup that I had today, that I had going into it. I mean,
I love it.
With just a couple of names flopped in and out. Josh did just send me his lineup, so we do have that. And this shit is looking booty. It's fine. It's actually fine. But anyways, we'll get to that later. In the meantime, Mark, why don't we do what do we want? Actually, you know what we'll do to vamp while we wait for Austin? I want to expound on this conversation we had this morning on the radio show. Speaking of the radio show, housekeeping note, make sure to listen to us on the radio every Tuesday at 9 a.m. WQAQ. You can listen to it at WQAQ.com. Yeah, we did radio, and we're using it. I decided today that moving forward, we're going to try and use it as a venue to talk about things that aren't football, because the podcast is very football heavy. And there's a lot of other sports that need to be talked about. Yeah. So anyways, I want to expand on this conversation. If you had to give, we were talking about concerts this morning.
Yeah.
If you had to give your top, if I asked you to give a top 5 concerts of all time on the spot, could you do that right now?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Do it, and then tell me why you picked these 5 shows, because I'm texting Austin right now.
All right. So, like I said on the show, I'm going to say Paul McCartney 2017 at the Carrier Dome is number 1. It's just one of those like star factor things. It's like, holy shit, I'm seeing a Beatle. Like, you know, he starts playing the Long and Winding Road, and it's just like, wow, this guy was the biggest star in the world for a number of years. So it was just cool and starstruck, and got tickets that day for $20.
How's that even possible?
Because it was obstructed view.
Oh.
Here's what obstructed
me. Something like that?
Yeah. I was about 40 feet behind a pole. I could see everything fine.
It was just obstructed view, yeah?
It was obstructed view. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I mean, I was a mile away from the stage. I was like behind the opposite end zone, but so that's number 1. I'll say Bruce Springsteen. I want to say 2013 at Vernon Downs is number 2. 3.5 hours. It's the boss. Like, that
was a while ago. What? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What was the first concert you ever went to?
First concert I ever went to, that the first one I remember was, I want to say it was like 2007. Dickie Betts, the former guitar player for the Allman Brothers. The first time I saw him, I was like 8 years old. He was playing a free show somewhere. And I was like 8 years old, and we went, and everyone was smoking cigarettes, and the music was very loud. So we were there for about a half an hour. I cried, and we left.
At least it was free.
Yeah. I also did end up seeing Dickie Betts again years later, and he put on a okay show.
A friend of mine, his first and only concert he went to was Kiss forever ago. He's a Kiss fan, and it's gross.
Poor bastard.
Well, he enjoys Kiss, but he said he doesn't like going to concerts because it was too loud. And I couldn't help but think to myself that like Kiss is like the most inoffensively loud thing you could listen to.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure it was loud, but also like it's Kiss, so I'm sure it was like EQ'd perfectly, and like there was no feedback or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
Connor.
But I didn't go to my first concert until I was 16.
Yeah, I've been going to concerts for a long time. Number 3, I would say, probably Tedeschi Trucks Band, who I saw at the New York State Fair a couple of years ago. Nephew of the guy I said was the worst show I had ever seen earlier, Butch Trucks. his nephew, Derek Trucks, is an incredible guitar player and puts on a hell of a show.
And so his Trucks band.
Yeah. And Butch, the one I mentioned earlier, his uncle threw 2 no-hitters for the Detroit Tigers back in the day. Virgil Trucks.
Oh. It's an important family, it sounds like.
Yeah, very extensive history with that family. Number 3, Derek Trucks. Well, Tedeschi Trucks band. It's him and his wife, Susan Tedeschi. She's got an amazing voice. She also can play the guitar quite well. Number 4, from that same day at the New York State Fair.
Right, because they do the matinee shows.
Yeah.
They do the late show.
Earlier in the day, Tedeschi Trucks was the late show. Earlier in the day, I saw Dave Mason, who was the guitar player for a band called Traffic. They did the song Dear Mr. Fantasy that played at the start of Avengers Endgame.
I've heard the name of the band before.
Yeah. For those out there, the song that plays at the start of Avengers Endgame, that band's guitar player. I saw him with Steve Cropper, who is most well known for being one of the guitar players from the Blues Brothers, like the band. But he's also just like listening to him talk and looking him up. He's just like one of the most influential guitar players of all time. He was the session guitar player for the Temptations, Otis Redding, Sam Cooke. It's like every soul singer from that era that needed a session guitar player. It was him, and it was on like My Girl and Sitting on the Dock of the Bay and like all their biggest hits. And I was like, huh, that's really cool. Green Onions by Booker T and the MGs. That's him playing guitar. So that show was awesome. Dave Mason killed it. And number 5, I would probably say the second time I saw Dropkick Murphys. So at the Saranac Brewery in Utica, 2013.
Oh, they did a show at the brewery?
Yeah.
I've been to the brewery before.
Yeah, I've never been inside the brewery. I've just been there for a Dropkick Murphys show. And that was the one where I mentioned earlier, the Turbo ACs. They were one of the openers.
Right.
The other opener was Elle King, before anyone knew who Elle King was.
They just knew she was Rob Schneider's daughter.
Yeah, and she sang Neck.
Yeah.
And it was wild. But Murphys went on. They played a song called Rose Tattoo, which is one of my favorite songs of theirs. It was the first time they ever played it live because they were touring for that album. And it was just an awesome experience with me and 2 of my buddies. And we've seen them 3 times since then. We've seen them 5 times total. We always go whenever they're in town. So Murphy's concert, always a fun time.
Have you ever been to a show and then like a show where maybe you like didn't really know who the opener was, but then you heard him and then you instantly became a fan? Have you ever been to a show like that before?
Yes, I have.
Care to give an example?
I'm trying to think. I saw well, okay, this was sort of the reverse. I saw The Offspring because they were opening for 311.
I remember that show.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for what it's worth because I hate 311.
Well, I went for The Offspring because I was like, yeah, I love The Offspring. I loved 311. I thought they were great.
Yeah, I cannot stand 311.
I had never really, like, I had heard like one song of theirs before. So that's the reverse.
Also, I missed that show because The Offspring are washed as shit. So,
yeah, they weren't great.
Did you hear that new album that came out earlier this year? Woo, it's
No, I didn't listen to it.
It's one of the worst things you'll hear in 2021. It's
really,
really, really terrible. Yeah. Yeah, they should probably call it a day. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Most of the experiences I've had like that are at like festivals. Like I go to New York State Blues Fest every year, and I always go early and then just stay the entire day through the headliner. Right. But I've got like a signed CD up here. There was a band called the Noah Witherspoon Band, who I thought was awesome.
Classic name the band after the guy.
Yeah, I mean every blues guy does that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. They were very good. And so I became a fan of theirs through that. There's one other that this past, like just a couple months ago, we went to Blues Fest to see a band called Larkin Poe, which is two sisters. They're both musicians. They sang. They're really good. They got famous off of YouTube actually, and then like started touring. And there was a band called Miller and the Other Sinners, and I thought they were really good.
I don't think I've ever been to a show where like I didn't know the opener.
Yeah, for the most part, I know who the opener is.
And I'll have to look. So I just keep a running list on my phone because I don't like to forget things. Honestly. And I will forget most things if I don't write them down. So yeah, I'm looking. Oh, another one of them that I actually did enjoy is a show that I saw you at, Mark, when we went and saw Weezer in 2018.
That was, I meant to mention that earlier. Best production value I've ever seen at a show.
Well, so my point, what I meant to say is, the band that opened that show, the Wombats, is one of my favorite like dance punk bands.
Oh yeah, they were good.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that.
I saw Mark at that show. We didn't coordinate anything.
No, we just bumped into each other.
We just bumped into each other.
Yeah, that's a good one because I did enjoy them, and I immediately forgot who it was. I've been trying to think of the name of that band for 3 years. Thank you very much.
The Wombats. What the hell's the name of that album? There's one of their albums that's like a modern, like dance punk, post punk classic. Give me a second. It is, and I trust me, we will get into. Oh, they got an album come out in January. A Guide to Love, Loss, and Desperation, their first record.
Wait, I thought that must have been a different show at the amphitheater. Who did Pixies open up for?
Weezer.
Oh, okay. They were also a part of that show. Yeah, It was Wombats and Pixies on Weezer. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Pixies sucked, I thought.
I didn't think they were great.
I really like the Pixies. They're not a good live band. Oh my god.
I didn't think one way or another about it, but
Where Is My Mind was like 280 beats per minute. I've never heard a song played faster than they played Where Is My Mind, which is intentionally slow and brooding.
Yeah.
Where's my mind? Where's my mind? Where is my mind?
All right. Before we get into actual content, we'll just jump ahead to the Believe It or Not thing. I see Connor here, maybe. I choose to believe that he was taking a shit when he joined this call.
I do as well.
So I was going to ask him a question, but he has since left his phone. So, Mark, we're going to skip ahead here, and we're just going to jump into the content today. And we're going to do Believe It or Not for NFL Week 4.
Now, you and I are in an interesting situation.
Yeah.
We didn't watch any football.
Yeah, admittedly, I was at a wedding on Sunday, so I did not watch any football, with the exception of the Sunday night game and the London game.
Yeah. I watched the London game, Packers-Bengals, and the Sunday night game. So,
yeah. That being said, I do have, believe it or not, statements that don't align with those games.
Okay.
Like, I still have things written about other games from what I've gathered and like some light analysis that I've done. So, Mark, do you want to go first with one of yours?
Yeah. Believe it or not, we shouldn't have to kick footballs anymore. Kicking footballs should no longer be part of the game.
I don't believe that. But
I don't believe that either, but it's just, there were 12 missed extra points on Sunday. It's getting ridiculous how many guys are missing extra points.
There were 23 total missed kicks this week in the NFL.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just in the Green Bay Cincinnati game, the final 6 drives before the game winner were 5 missed field goals and an interception. It was unbelievable. This was like the worst week in kicking history.
$4,500.
Yeah, Mark had a parlay that went for 4. Did everything else hit but that game?
You bet your ass it did.
Oh my God.
$5 for 4,500. 5 missed field goals away from $4,500.
And you just had Bengals money line in that game? Is that what you had?
Yep.
Yeah. Damn. Wow, that's really sad. Sorry to hear that.
It was because everything else. Because afterwards I was like, all right, you know what? Like, whatever. And then everything else started hitting.
And then you were like, uh-oh. Now it's not whatever.
The Red Sox game went to extra innings. I had Red Sox run line, which is -1.5. Went to extra innings. I was like, okay, the only way I can this would hit is if they hit a walk-off 2-run home run.
Mm-hmm.
They hit a walk-off 2-run home run.
Yeah.
It was just everything else just fell into place except for the 5 missed field goals.
Yeah, that's a terrible beat, is what we call that. It's a really terrible beat. All right, we'll get into mine. My first believe it or not statement here is so both of these have to do in relation to the Miami Dolphins, but neither of these are about the Miami Dolphins. So that's the fun part about this whole thing. Did the Dolphins even play? Oh yeah, they got stomped by the Bucs.
Yeah, they got their teeth kicked in by Tampa Bay.
Well, so both of these have to do with the Dolphins, but aren't actually statements about the Dolphins. So hear me out here. Believe it or not, the 2021 Lions are this year's version of the 2019 Dolphins.
I don't remember the story of the 2019 Dolphins.
First year head coach. They're not good. They do have a couple of good spots, whereas in Miami it was a few defensive players.
And Devontae Parker.
But this was the Devontae Parker breakout was at the very end of that season.
Yeah.
Whereas the Lions' bright spots lie mostly on the offensive line and DeAndre Swift.
Mm-hmm.
Veteran quarterbacks who aren't very good, but a team that is going to give 130% every single Sunday and is somehow going to make games competitive when Lord knows they should not be trying.
I believe that. I said that about the Lions on the show, like on the regular radio show.
As poor as the Lions' record will most likely be this year, and they're most likely going to be picking top 3 or so in the draft next season. It's one of those things where, I'm all for building a culture, right? That was my thing with. I legitimately tried to make a case that the 5-11 Dolphins from 2019 that Brian Flores deserved Coach of the Year votes that season. I'm not going to make that same case with Dan Campbell this year, but and what really drove this home was the Dan Campbell's press conference from after the game, where he was legitimately in tears. Talking about how much he loves this team and how much he respects them for playing hard. And it's back-to-back game-winning field goal, 19-17 losses. So, it's unfortunate, but I do hold to that belief that there are positive things to, not even necessarily in the roster, but there are positive things franchise-wise to be looking forward to in Detroit.
I believe they're the ones, they got Penei Sewell, right?
Yes.
I mean, I just love that, just in general. I can't believe he fell to them.
Yeah, and then they have Frank Ragnow, who's one of the best in football, but he's out for the season.
Yes.
With a toe injury.
But yeah, they are strangely competitive.
Yeah.
And they have been most weeks this year, and there's just something about. I really do love Dan Campbell. I think he's going to be a really good coach in this league.
He seems like one of those guys who, again, one of those Brian Flores types. One of those guys what Matt Nagy should be doing type. I talked about this earlier in the chat.
Yeah,
he's the kind of head coach that isn't necessarily going to be the guy he's not the Andy Reid who's going to be controlling the offense. He's not the John Harbaugh who's going to be controlling the defense. He's not one of those guys who's going to micromanage one side of the football. But what he's provided so far is like a motivational glue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he seems to be like the ultimate like or one of the ultimate like team guys. One of the like a motivator type head coach. And that works in some cases, you know?
Yeah, there's just something about it. Like he's just a football guy. He's a football lifer. He lives, eats, breathes, and shits football. And I love it. I love him crying in the press conference. I love everything about Dan Campbell. And there are some pieces on that team to like, despite the fact I don't know if they'll win a game this year.
Oh, they'll win one. They played the Bears twice, so.
Hey, they've looked better.
They have looked better. I'd be surprised if the Bears win 3 more games this season.
That's fair.
And just a diversion here, and this is the Bears' remaining schedule. Okay, just rest of the season. Packers at Bucks, 49ers at Steelers, Ravens at Lions, Cardinals at Packers, Vikings at Seahawks, Giants at Vikings.
Yeah, that's not great.
They have a brutal schedule coming down the pipe. Like I said, their next 6 weeks. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. Their next 8 games are Green Bay twice, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, Arizona, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Detroit.
Yeah,
those are their next 8 games.
Well, Detroit, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna beat Detroit.
Yeah.
Let's just be real here. You're gonna beat Detroit. I think they can beat San Francisco and Pittsburgh.
I think they can too. I'm not saying it's a lost cause.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that be prepared for some rough stretches. Bears
fan. 2 against the Packers, not great.
Nope.
That's not what you like. Nope. You don't like to see the Bucks on the schedule ever.
Nope. Even though we'll never wipe off the we'll never forget that they beat the Bucks on Thursday Night Football last year.
Congratulate it. Anyone can win one given game.
I know. I'm just
looking at it.
They're bound to win a couple of these games in stupid fashion.
Yeah. I think that might be the Ravens game.
Maybe.
I just have a feeling.
I see the Bears defense in a similar way that I see the Colts defense, the way that I saw them playing Baltimore this week, in the sense that they're not super creative or super exotic with their packages and whatnot. And they certainly don't do well over the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. So they might just get torched. Lamar Jackson might run for 100+.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But anyway, my second believe it or not. And I didn't believe this a couple weeks ago, but I'm starting to buy in. Believe it or not, Josh Allen is a top 2 quarterback in football.
Sure. Are you going to say he's top 2 and he's not number 2? Was that the end of it?
I was going to originally, but I can't put him ahead of Mahomes yet. I just can't.
A fun fact. We talked about this in a group chat that I'm in a couple of days ago. It was Austin that said it. It's basically Mahomes has been playing fine. Their defense sucks, and they're regressing in terms of turnovers. I said on the radio this morning.
Yeah.
To add on to that, Pat Mahomes still has the best QBR in football. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's a tight argument to be had. There's a couple guys up there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. It's just I don't know. He had 300 yards on 12 completions Sunday night.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Emmanuel Sanders just gives him confidence.
Emmanuel Sanders has had is in full bounce back mode as we speak. So
yeah, like it's just he's so good on his feet.
Dawson Knox learned how to catch a football.
Dawson Knox learned how. He's mossing people now.
Yeah.
You see that he mossed someone on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't know. I think he might just be the second best quarterback in football.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, like I said, there are other guys to add in there. Brady, Kyler,
Lamar, yeah, like
Lamar Jackson, Dak.
Yeah, there are guys in the conversation. I'll take Josh Allen over Dak any day.
I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying there's a group.
Yeah,
right?
there is. I think it might just be Josh Allen.
All right. Well, here's my second, believe it or not, for this week, and it again has to do with the Miami Dolphins. The 2021 Steelers are this year's version of the 2018 Dolphins. In the sense that
if I couldn't remember the 2019 Dolphins, you're absolutely going to have to explain the 2018 Dolphins to me.
The 2018 Dolphins are the worst mediocre team I've ever seen in my life. They went 7-9 that season with Brock Osweiler as their quarterback.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, yes, I remember that team now.
The last season under Adam Gase.
Yeah.
And no, this isn't a perfect comparison, but I only brought this up to say that I feel like we're going to get to this point where later in the season, the Steelers are going to be hovering around 500, and they're going to keep winning games. Like I'm going to pick them to beat Seattle this week on Sunday Night Football.
Well, yeah, because it's either going to be Geno Smith or maybe Blake Bortles because they're working him out. So
So I'm going to pick them to beat Seattle this week, and they're just going to keep winning games like this. But you cannot convince me that this is a good football team.
They're a bad football team.
You can't. And that's the same way I felt about that Dolphins team a couple years ago. You want to know how I remember that? Because they played the Bears that year. My dad was at the game, and it was a game the Bears were winning the whole time until Brock Osweiler laid his 6'7" nutsack on the field in the fourth quarter and torched them. I gotta go look up the result of this game because I remember it being really frustrating. They won 31-28 in overtime. It was an overtime game. I do remember that. It was a game that the Bears defense completely blew. And Brock Osweiler dusted them. It was so annoying. So annoying. But yeah. No, like I said, not necessarily a perfect comparison, but Mark, are you there? Are you frozen? I think Mark's frozen. Damn. It's just me by myself. Anyways, you can't convince me. Oh, is Connor there too? I don't know. Connor's been frozen this whole time too. So. Nope, I can't really hear you. Mark just said technical difficulties. Connor sounds like he's in Doha. But my point being is you can't convince me the Steelers are a good football team. I'm not buying it.
I'm back.
I can hear Mark now.
Yeah, I'm all right. Cool.
I cannot see Mark, but I can hear him.
My camera's on.
Give me a second. All right, there you're good. You're good now.
Okay.
Yeah. Your video is frozen.
All right. Steelers are bad. They have a bad quarterback.
They have a bad look. Their quarterback he's certainly top 32 in the NFL. I can't even say that with confidence.
Yeah, no.
I can't say that with confidence, actually.
He might be. He's a top 40 quarterback in the NFL. I'll tell you that.
Sure. I'll give him that. All right.
Top 64. Okay, there I said it.
Okay, yeah, I'll give that. He's a top 64 quarterback in football. I don't know. We got time, Mark. You want to look ahead to one of these games this weekend?
Yeah, sure.
What game is interesting to you in Week 6?
Well, obviously, Bucs-Eagles, the matchup everyone has been looking forward to. Tom Brady going back into Philadelphia.
Right.
The team that burned him.
Right.
So recently.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, that game, the
Eagles
are gonna get blown out, and they're gonna try to like push that narrative, and it's just like we don't care.
They might get blown out, but also that game might be pretty fun.
It could be fun. Dolphins Jaguars, that's a bore.
So here's the thing. We're gonna talk about this with my FanDuel lineups later. Oh, the over-under's at 47. I was just about to talk about how I think it might be a sneaky over.
Not at 47.
Not at 47. I like it more if Tua's playing, which it looks like he's going to. But.
Oh, really? He's back already?
He's practicing today.
Oh, cool. Chargers Ravens, that'll be a good game.
Yeah, I think Chargers Ravens is, at least on the main slate, the game of the week.
Yeah.
But I like that Cardinals Browns game quite a bit as well.
Yes, I like that as well because the Browns are infuriating.
Yeah. I'm also gonna enjoy the Chiefs taking out some anger on the Washington football team.
The over-under in that's 55.5. That might just be the Chiefs team over.
Yeah, like, you're telling me, are you taking the over on 31.5 as their implied total?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They're 8-point favorites on the road. Their team implied total is 31.5.
Yeah, over on that. Absolutely. Are you kidding?
I would also take the over on that.
That's
well, that does mean it's garbage time, which is why Taylor Heineke is my quarterback in the FanDuel Millie Maker this week.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
Taylor Heineke and Terry McLaurin were running it back with Travis Kelce. Easy money. I'll take it. Get some pieces of it. I will say though, if Tyreek Hill ends up being out, I'm gonna have to switch this around and get Josh Gordon in my lineup somehow. Because if Tyreek Hill's out, I don't even think. And most people would think that it's going to be Mecole Hardman who steps in the number one role. I just got a feeling that if Tyreek Hill is out, Josh Gordon, it might be a Josh Gordon game.
Yeah.
That's a feeling I got. So it'd be worth to throw him out there in a tournament. But
also Bills Titans, because I think the Titans are not great, and that's another one I think the Bills might just blow them out.
So I've been thinking about this. And I got a feeling that it's going to be closer than you think and more high scoring than you think.
That's a good one for, let's see, what's the over? Oh, the over-under is 54.
It's high. But my point is like, I feel like this is a game that has like, not necessarily a fluke, because I still think Tennessee has potential to be a good team. But like fluke-ish offense written all over it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Titans are actually averaging more yards a game than Buffalo. They're allowing 130 more yards a game than the Bills.
Oof.
The Titans are allowing 392 total yards per game. The Bills are allowing 266.
That's not what you want.
Yeah, and the Bills are averaging 416 yards per game. The Titans are averaging 419 yards per game.
That does surprise me.
So we'll get to it. Actually, we'll just transition into the FanDuel lineups right now, because this game is a key tenet of my all week FanDuel lineup. So one of the things I noticed here, and I did almost purposefully, is that I only have 2 roster spots that are taken up by players on the main slate. The rest of my roster is players in the island games. Like I said, part of it was happenstance. Part of it was, I mean, it's mostly because the games that I wanted to attack happened to all be on an island this week.
Yeah.
Like I said, the main slate even in particular was hard to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I will actually read Josh's lineup first, because I do have it.
Okay.
Which is, he's got Matt Stafford and then Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods on the double stack. And then we've got, let's see here, Chase Edmonds and James Robinson as his running backs. I like Robinson quite a bit this week. I also like DeAndre Swift, who is his flex. I tried to get him into my lineup. I just wasn't able to finagle it. But I like DeAndre Swift quite a bit.
Yeah.
I had half a mind to go back to the Joe Burrow stack and then run it back with DeAndre Swift this week, but alas, I did not. And then he's got Devontae Smith, who is also in my lineup. He's got at least 6 targets in every game this year. Tampa's got to beat up secondary. They might be chasing points.
Mm-hmm.
I like Devontae Smith this week. Then he's got Mark Andrews coming off of a great game, a game that won me a week.
In a game that lost me a week.
Yeah. In a different fantasy league, in what should be one of the more higher scoring games of the week, which leaves him with money for the Texans defense, which I don't hate. I'm trying to parse through my feelings about this Texans Colts game from a fantasy aspect, and I think it might just be
terrible.
A regression game on both sides defensively. Now, I don't think that Houston's defense is good.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I mean to say is that it might just be a get right game for the Indianapolis defense. Like, I think that's what I've settled on.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe Houston get a couple turnovers, right? Like, defense doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyways, Mark, what's your lineup?
I'm also stacking Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp. The Giants are as banged up can be right now.
Yes.
And they're not even going to be in this game. So I think that's going to be due in large part to Stafford and Kupp making that connection. My 2 running backs, I've got Chuba Hubbard.
This is obviously assuming that Christian McCaffrey doesn't play.
Yeah, because
it is looking like he has a good shot at playing this week.
See, I thought it was the opposite.
The team seems to be quite optimistic about his ability to play this week.
So my running backs, I have Leonard Fournette and Antonio Gibson.
Do you want me to give you time to actually change it? Like, I can go through my lineup.
Nah, it's fine. I'm sticking with playoff Lenny.
Dude, Lombardi Lenny has been great this year, and the Eagles' run defense
it's
great.
Bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sticking with Lenny. And Antonio Gibson, like I said, the Chiefs' defense is awful. I legit think it's a bottom 5 defense in football.
It's bad.
So I like him as basically the main just option for that Washington offense. Going up against Kansas City this week. Wide receivers outside of Kupp, I've got Antonio Brown against Philadelphia. He's been very solid this year. He's been just downright. Well, he's had 2 really good games and 2 meh games.
Josh and I talked about earlier is that, like, Tampa Bay just has an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah.
All over the place. Like, Antonio Brown has just been great this season.
So yeah, I like Antonio Brown against the Eagles. I'm going with Emmanuel Sanders. The guy has been a favorite of Josh Allen this year because Stephon Diggs gets so much pressure from the defense that even a guy like Allen finds it hard to connect with him. So Sanders has been his main target towards the end zone this year, him and Dawson Knox. So I'm going to go with Sanders. Like I said, Kupp. Tight end, I'm going to go Noah Fant. I don't think the Broncos are very good. I don't think the Raiders are very good. And I think the Raiders are going to have a very tough week this week, just in general with everything that's going on. So I went with that, but I do have a Raider in my flex. I have Josh Jacobs because this guy is just money. He's starting to pick it up a little bit, coming back from injury. He's starting to get more touches. I love Josh Jacobs. I think he's especially at the value, 6,800 for a guy like that, who can just go off any week. So he's my flex, and I went with the Ravens defense against the Chargers, because as we mentioned, defense does not matter.
All right, so I'll tell you right now, there are too many running backs that I wanted really badly in my lineup this week. I didn't have DeAndre Swift in my lineup, and I don't have my other favorite running back of the week. But the only reason he's not locked into my lineup is volume questions. That's Javonte Williams. The Raiders have given up 130 yards a game on the ground this year. And Javonte Williams is starting to creep ahead of Melvin Gordon on the snap count. But if I knew that Javonte Williams would be getting 65% of the snaps and not like 52% of the snaps, he would have been locked into my lineup 100%. He's in the Millie Maker lineup for me. I love him this week. This could be the Javonte Williams breakout game that we're looking at that sets him firmly ahead of Melvin Gordon moving forward. Anyways, my game stack this week is the Monday night game. I went with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. So Diggs has yet to have that big breakout game this season. The 150 yards and 2 touchdowns game, right? Has yet to have it. You know what's a good remedy for that? The Tennessee defense. All right.
Yep.
His defense sucks. And I know he faced a lot of double coverage, which is why Josh Allen's starting to look other places. Ain't gonna matter because they suck. So we're running it back, and we already talked about that. I think the game could have more offensive fireworks than you might think. So we're running it back, and I'm thinking AJ Brown is going to get his first big game of the year so far, as well.
Is Julio going to play ever again?
I don't know. AJ Brown still has yet to have 50 yards in a game this season.
That's going to change.
Yeah, so I'm in. I'm in on AJ Brown this week. Bill's defense is good. It's definitely good, but I tend to think in those kind of cases, matchups don't really matter all that much for a guy that good. So we're running that out. Running back, my number one running back play of the week, even though I already said it was Javonte Williams. It's not Javonte Williams. My number one running back player of the week is Darrell Henderson of the Rams going up against the New York Giants. He's had at least 110 yards or a touchdown in every single game so far this season.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing a Giants defense that can't stop the run. Not only are they playing a Giants defense that can't stop the run, they're playing a Giants offense who could be missing up to 8 of their week 1 starters this season. So in a game, Sony Michel might be a good tournament play this week, because in a game where the Rams project to be up big and early, they'll just be running the clock out in the second half.
I did consider Sony Michel at first.
Sony Michel should be a good tournament play because they definitely want to use him. That's for certain. And my other running back is Najee Harris, partially volume driven. He's had at least 21 touches in each of his last 3 games. Scored in each of his last 2 weeks. The Seattle defense isn't very good, and this is a game that Pittsburgh should be able to win pretty easily. I tried to get the Steelers defense into my lineup, but it was a little too rich. Rich. But and then second game stack. We're running out there. It's the London game. We're headed across the pond. We're headed back to the tight end well that we did last week. Dan Arnold got 8 targets last week. Do I think he'll get 8 targets again this week? Probably not, because of a couple of different factors. One, Marvin Jones and Laviska Shenault combined for 8 targets last week. And also, who's the other loser? Give me a second. Yeah. Jamal Agnew had 8 targets last week. So, if I had to put money on someone losing targets, it's going to be Jamal Agnew before it's going to be Dan Arnold. All right? Mm-hmm. Dan Arnold ain't that expensive. Yuck him in there. Might score a touchdown. Could get some targets in a game that, I don't think it's going to be quote unquote sneaky high scoring, but I certainly don't think there's going to be a lack of points in the game. Excuse me. On the other end of that is my hypocrite pick of the week, because I already talked about being concerned about Javonte Williams' volume. Well, I'm putting a guy in my lineup who has gotten 14 or fewer touches in 3 of 5 games this year. Has no more than 16 touches in a single game this year. But He did catch 10 balls for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. And he's still the best running back on the team. And Jacksonville's defense sucks. So maybe this is finally the game where Myles Gaskin gets it on track. In a game that they should be competitive, I expect more than 5 carries than he had last week. I sure as hell expect more than the 2 carries he got against the Colts 2 weeks ago.
These are Miles Sanders numbers.
Exactly. Myles Gaskin against the Colts 2 weeks ago had 2 carries for 3 yards. That was the stat line.
It's official. Coaches hate running backs named Miles.
Yeah, precisely. And then my defense left over, the Cowboys defense. They're forcing turnovers right now, and that's sure to regress at some point. But the Houston defense got to Mac Jones last week, so I'm starting to think that the Cowboys defense probably can. So,
I really don't know how much it's going to regress. I think Trevon Diggs is just good.
He's good, but he's got 6 interceptions in 5 games.
Well, yeah, that's going to regress obviously a little bit, but
a lot of it. How often do you have someone who intercepts double-digit passes in a season? The answer is not very often.
I think he could do it.
Sure, he probably will do it. I'm just saying, the defense is going to regress at some point. That's my point. I mentioned on the radio this morning. I'm saying it again now. But, anyways, we will save everyone's favorite game for next week.
Can you give me just a little teaser? It doesn't have to count for the points.
Okay. Yeah. So we did Guess That College. We had it queued up. And it was preseason standout edition. So a bunch of players who raised their stock this NBA preseason. And fitting, next week we'll be doing our NBA season preview. So that will be exciting. I'll give you one, Mark, right now. I'll give you one right now. I want you to give me the college for Warriors breakout, Jordan Poole. He's been awesome this preseason.
See, the problem...
First goal of the NHL season, by the way.
Oh, what's the score?
1-0.
Yeah, but who?
I didn't
Who's winning?
quite see who it was. Pittsburgh scored. That's it.
Oh, Pittsburgh. Okay. Here's the problem with a game like this. I try to picture a guy in his college uniform, and I always go to colors. Yeah. And so the first thing I thought was oh, I think it's a Michigan or a West Virginia, and I'm no, those are just the Warriors colors. Did he go to Michigan?
Yeah, he went to Michigan.
Okay.
You had it right in your head, actually.
Okay.
Jordan Poole did go to Michigan.
For some reason, I could picture him in a Michigan jersey, but then I'm or am I just being an asshole and picturing him in a college jersey that's the same color, basically the same colors as the pro team he plays on?
Yes, he was drafted in the first round in 2019. He's only 2 weeks older than me, so that's cool.
Yeah, don't you love that?
Went to the University of Michigan. Most of these players on the list for Guess That College next week are very young, are recent draftees.
Yeah.
So, which is the part of it that should make the game a little easier, is that they were recently in college basketball.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but anyways, that's for next week. We're actually going to get out of here in under an hour. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's what happens when there's only 2 of us and we don't have a ton of ideas for content for the night.
Right, because we didn't even watch football. I'm surprised we got 53 minutes out of it.
Listen, I've said it in the past. I'll say it again. Playoff baseball is my priority. Yeah. If there's playoff baseball and football on, I'm watching the baseball game.
We didn't even talk about baseball at all today.
No, we didn't. Go Red Sox.
No, go Red Sox. I'm officially a Giants fan for the rest of the season.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with it. Hey, go Giants.
Hey, did the Brewers win? Is that game over yet?
No, it's tied up at 4 in the 8th inning.
Damn.
Yeah,
until the Brewers are eliminated, I'm a Brewers fan. But once they're eliminated, I'm a Giants fan.
I am also a Giants fan until they play the Red Sox in the World Series.
Which, you know how this sport works. Like this sport, baseball more than any other sports seems to be like the destiny sport.
Mm-hmm.
So you know it's going to be Red Sox or Giants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and it's going to be chaos in this household.
Like it's gonna like this like Boston is gonna pull out some heroics in the ALCS.
Yep.
And beat the cheaters. And then like they're gonna play the Giants
in
the World Series.
The Giants won a 1-0 game yesterday because Evan Longoria hit a solo home run. That's the type of shit that against Max Scherzer. That's the type of shit the Giants are doing, and that's what scares me.
Right. And that's what leads me to believe that this is going to happen, and the Giants are going to win the World Series, and then they're going to win 80 games next year.
Both these teams are.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
I don't know how the Red Sox keep winning postseason games. There's 3 pitchers worth their salt on this roster.
And none of them are named Martin Perez.
No. Or Hansel Robles.
That guy sucks. But anyways, before we get out of here, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hot Stove Pod. That's at Hot Stove Pod on Twitter. Here on the YouTube side, subscribe, like the video, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. Make sure to listen to us on the radio every Tuesday at 9 a.m. on WQAQ. You can find the stream for that over at WQAQ.com. And other than that, for Mark, I'm Zach. This has been the Hot Stove Podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.